Apa kabar? Boleh dengar, Arush? Hello, Assalamualaikum. Rush dia, boleh dengar ke? Halo, halo. Testing.
Kami semua dengar insyaAllah.
Okay, dress dengar. Okay. Orang yang pentingnya, orang yang nak menyampaikannya. Rush boleh dengar ke? Hello? Rush ni tak dengar eh? Yep.
Sorry. Hi, Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Everyone
Rush.
hear me?
Yes. How are you?
Sorry. There was some technical issues just now. I set up my second screen, but then things happen, so now it doesn't work. So sorry for the glitch. Yeah.
Okay, it's okay, Rush. How are you, Rush? Sehat?
Great. I'm good. Thank you.
Hari
Thank you.
ni kerja
Fine.
kat rumah eh?
Yes.
I see.
Currently,
Which company are you in right now?
I'm at Roche.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a flexible mode. So today I'm at home, working from home.
Nice. Apa berapa lama kat sana?
Just
Baru tukar kan? Baru kan?
yeah, just about 1.5 month. So baru lagi.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Ya, duduk ELM lama-lama pun kena cari mood yang baru lah.
Yeah. Good,
Tinggal
new environment, new people.
ya, new environment, new people. This one, Rosh ni dia in-house production.
Correct. I'm in-house ID.
Much more manageable lah compared to previous company vendor. Dia lagi banyak client nak kena handle kan. Yeah.
I would expect that lah, but then now baru start, so project pun baru satu, baru dapat, and it's also a
I see.
project, not a full project yet, so don't know how tak boleh cakap lagi lah sekarang kan, baru je lagi.
How many person dalam team Rush?
For an ID, actually I work with a global team, so
I see.
my teammates are all in Budapest in Hungary and
Oh,
also
okay.
in Costa Rica. So in KL, I'm actually in APAC region, I'm actually the first ID they hire.
Oh, I see.
So we're gonna have more.
International.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole new environment that I'm working with right now. So yeah, it's good lah so far. Good experience so far.
Might be in future boleh travel ke tempat lain to be an ID there or something like that. Might be lah. We
Yeah,
never know.
hopefully.
Yeah. So happy to know that. Alhamdulillah. First of all, thank you for joining today.
Pleasure.
Thank you for this sharing session. Kita akan tunggu dalam 2 minit lagi.
Oh, sure.
Usually 9:30 kita akan start lah. Okay, while we're waiting for others, I think I can just simply introduce Rush to most of the participants here. Rush is basically one of my colleagues last time. We work in the same company. We both are instructional designer. Tapi saya lari dulu. I moved first at that time. And then Rush recently joined waktu tu around 6 months kot. Lepas 6 months Rush join baru saya gerak. So yeah, we meet again. We still keep in touch. We all from the previous company, we go out for lunch, we go out for buka puasa, everything. We still keep the circle close lah. So that's the thing. Okay, still 1 more minute before we begin. Hopefully everyone can enjoy this session. This is more on sharing session because one of the reason why I'm conducting this webinar is that most people, when we talk about content creation, they only stuck their limitation towards video itself. So it is no longer creating a video when we talk about content. That there's a lot of things that we can do for the contents. We can do infographics, we can do interactive video, we can do interactive e-learning session. So yeah, that's the idea. We are going to hear from the industry player, which is Rushdia, the instructional designer who have more than 5 years experience in this field. So
No, 3 years.
3 years. Okay, sorry. 3 years experience.
Like just over 3 years lah.
So over 3 years experience. So even though the thing that we need to understand is that the previous company that Rushdia works in is a vendor company. So basically, as a vendor company, They handle a lot of customers from different background, corporates, governments, and all things. So it gives an instructional designer a really vast experience, I would say. And it is really challenging actually. Well, we know lah the things behind it. Let's hear from him. Let's hear from her, sorry. Before anything else, let's begin with Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Arrahmanirrahim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Alright, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For all those who just joined, I would like to welcome to this session. So right now, currently we have 61 participants, 62 participants in this room. And today we are lucky to have an industry player and instructional designer who are still working in the industry as instructional designer, but recently just changed the workplace, just changed the boss lah senang kata. Last time we are working together at the same company in e-learning minds company. So both of us last time was instructional designer. So here today I invite Miss Rushdia to share her experience in instructional design. So what is instructional design all about? So she will tell us from the perspective of industry nowadays. So what is expected nowadays when we talk about instructional design? Because the landscape is changing with all the disruptive technology, with all the AIs, with all the advance in technology. So today we're going to hear a sharing from Ms. Rushdia about instructional design from clicks, an ID journey from classroom to clicks. So that's the webinar title for today. So without any further delay, let me invite Ms. Rushdia to start the session. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Izzat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to everyone. So before anything, let me just share my screen first. Hang on. Okay. All right, so first of all, thank you for IIUM micro credential unit. Do I get it right? Tuan? Yeah. So thank you for inviting me to have this sharing session. Actually, I actually like to talk about being an ID to everyone. Basically, just explain what being an ID is all about, right? So actually I feel honored to be invited to this session. So my name is Rushdia. So I am an instructional designer. I have basically about 3 years experience in this field. So before that, let me just okay, let me just have a brief introduction about myself. So actually I graduated with a Bachelor in Education in TESOL from University Selangor in 2016. So you know, taking up TESOL means naturally the goal, the aim is to be a teacher. So I actually worked as an English teacher, tutor, basically instructor of ESL classroom from 2016 to 2021. So that's about 4 years. So I have been teaching in various types of institutions, from language centers to college. So my last workplace is actually a private college in KL. So I have teach students from different age group, from young kids as young as 3 years old up until like adult learners, and then also in tertiary level by just teaching basic English skills like reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So I did that for about 4 years. And then in 2021, in the middle of the whole lockdown pandemic thing, I was actually looking for a new opportunity. But at that time, I have to be honest, I had no idea what is instructional design is all about. I have no idea about digital learning. Of course, when I was teaching in college and during pandemic, we have a thing called online learning. But online learning is basically just classroom session, but virtual, right? But e-learning, when we talk about e-learning, when we talk about digital learning, it's something that is totally different that I have no idea about. But then I came across a job opening saying that the role is an instructional designer. I have no idea what it is, but then the requirement of the job is background in teaching or training, skills in language, linguistics, and all those things. So I thought, like, why not? I just try. So I applied, and then I was called for the interview, and they gave me assessment and everything. So I finally became an instruction designer in the year 2021. So I started with, as Dr. Izzat mentioned just now, at e-learning minds group Sdn Bhd. So this company is actually a vendor company, basically a digital learning solutions provider. So there's like everything under one roof. They provide content development, platform, video recording, everything that you need for your digital learning needs. This is the solutions provider. So I was there from 2021 until last month, April 2024. So I was there for 3 years, for about 3 years, 2 months like that. And then I was again looking for another opportunity, but I would love to stay as an ID because I feel that I can do this job. I mean, like, it's something that I am passionate about. So I was looking for a new experience where I can be the in-house ID instead of being the external provider for different companies. So I just recently, just last month, I started as an instruction designer at Roche. So Roche is a Switzerland-based pharmaceutical company, pharmaceutical biomedic medical research company. So in Malaysia, they have these services and solutions, means they provide all the services and solutions for the operation. So I joined this company last month as the first instructional designer in APAC region. So I work with a global team that is based in Hungary and Costa Rica. So although the scope of the job is the same from a previous company and this one, but the environment is something that is totally new for me, right? So that's some introduction about my career journey. And then while working with the previous company, e-learning minds group, I have collaborated with various clients from different types of organizations, like financial institutions, you know, like CIMB Bank, MBank Group, CGC, and then also corporate bodies, and then companies like Astro, Maxis. And I also had one opportunity to work with the government. I'm not sure whether it's government or semi-government institutions, which is Institute Koperasi Malaysia. So these are some of the significant clients that I have collaborated with to develop their e-learning content. So the content that I have developed for these clients is a different type of topics, different types of courses, and also the amount of, like, for example, the amount of modules can be different. Some clients require us to build like 10 modules, some just come with 1 module. So it's all different experience. And then I also for Maxis, I also had the experience to actually being attached with the company as an external ID. That means I work directly with the L&D team. So I work at their premise, I work together with the team. So it's also a different experience altogether while working for e-learning minds group previously, right? So these are some of the significant collaborations that I've had in the past, right? So yeah, that's basically about my journey as an ID. So now today for this session, okay, so I've been invited to share a little bit of my knowledge and experience that I have in these past 3 years to working as an ID. All right, so in this session, there are a few key areas that I would like to share. First one is how do you make smooth transition from face-to-face classroom training to web-based training? That means if you have some materials that is previously being delivered in either physical face-to-face or virtual face-to-face. So now you want to make it into completely remote learning, e-learning. So how do you do that? How do you navigate to this transition? And then we'll also look at the factors that you would want to consider when you design and develop your e-learning, because there's a lot of some big area and some minor details that will affect the engagement level of your learners, of your end users, right? So we will cover a little bit on that. And also, I will also share the tools that is mainly used for the e-learning development in today's world, right? So it's a tool that is widely used by all the e-learning developers basically in the world. All right. So if there's sorry, before that, I would just like to say that in the middle of my presentation, if there's anyone who would like to ask questions, you can just unmute yourself and raise up your question. And also I cannot see anyone if I'm not sure about what's the setting, but I don't know if I can see anyone if you like raise your hand or anything. So it'd be best if you can just unmute yourself. We can just have like two-way discussion, right? Okay. So first, let's look at the area of converting classroom teaching or training into e-learning. So this is the most, how to say, the challenges that I think everyone would face while you want to start developing your e-learning. So let's look at the the challenges. So before we go into like how do we do it, I think it's best to actually acknowledge and see the challenges that I actually would have faced before in converting the existing content that was previously delivered through face-to-face training into e-learning. Okay? So I think there are a lot. It could be like endless list of challenges that people might face, but these are some of the key issues that I would say faced by almost everyone in doing this transition from face-to-face to e-learning development. So the first one is technical proficiency. Yes, because as for me as well, when I started as an ID, I would say my biggest concern is not in the area of designing a lesson, because coming from educational background, even though we can say that academic learning and adult learning is like totally different types of learning, but the basis of it, when you want to plan a lesson, when you want to structure your course, the foundation of it is the same. So how do you plan your lesson is the same. So coming from an educational background, I would say the area of planning a lesson, it was not my biggest concern. So my biggest concern at the start of my career as an ID is the technical proficiency, because I had no idea what Articulate is all about. And then all the graphic creation tools and everything. So the technical proficiency is probably one of the reasons why some people would be hesitant to transition from face-to-face into e-learning development, because they do not have the proficiency. But honestly, I would say for anyone who would like to start to become an ID or to start developing your own e-learning, right? Although it can be like, I would say, the main challenge for me, but then it should not stop anyone from venturing into e-learning development, because it is something that you can learn while you are doing it. Because I had done it, so I feel that it should be, even though it's a big concern, but it should not be the first concern that's stopping anyone from developing any e-learning materials that you are interested in. So that is the challenge, the first challenge that I would say most people would face. So not anyone is proficiency with e-learning tools and technologies, especially when these tools and technologies keep on evolving. Now it's very rapid development of all these tools, so everyone has to keep up with the development, right? And then next, I would like to highlight that engagement and interaction is also one of the issue, because to maintain learners' engagement and interaction, in an online environment can be more challenging compared to face-to-face sessions. I think everyone can agree with this because it's a totally different type of delivery. So of course, engagement and interaction from the learners are different, the acceptance are different. So the challenge is to ensure that they have the same interest and motivation towards the e-learning content, at the same as the learners would do in a face-to-face interactions, right? So the next one, I would say lack of personal connection. This is for obvious reasons, because in e-learning content, there's no person in it. I mean, there's no real person to talk to you, to build connection. So some people they really appreciate like human to human interaction, so they are more connected, or they are more engaged to the lesson if there is one particular instructor or something. So when the lesson, or the training is being conducted in e-learning format, some people struggle with it because they do not have this rapport or personal connection with a person or with an instructor. Okay, so that is common issue as well. And then adapting content delivery. So this is for the part of the ID, the developer. So content that works well in face-to-face setting may not translate effectively to an online format. This is because if you conduct a training or any lesson in face-to-face mode, you can have like all the extensive details inside the content, and then you can also explain more, provide more context while you are delivering the content. But then inside, when you are developing e-learning, you have to decide and choose what the amount of content that you want to put in, which are the most relevant to be put in. So not everything can be in an e-learning, not everything that is from the face-to-face delivery can be translated the same and inside an e-learning. So to adapt on the content that you want to deliver from face-to-face classroom into e-learning is also the main challenge that can be faced at the early stage of e-learning development. And then the next one, I would say assessment and feedback. So if you in a face-to-face interaction classroom, we can get immediate feedback or response or acceptance of the learners, because there is two-way interaction. You can ask like what is if there's any question, if they would like you to repeat a certain part of the content that you just deliver, that can be done immediately in a face-to-face interaction, but not in e-learning because they are doing it independently. So as a instructor or trainer, how do you define that at what point that their engagement or their understanding at a certain point? You cannot measure that directly or immediately in an online setting or in e-learning format, right? So hang on, is there any question here? Okay, sorry. Okay, so that is the 5 of the most common challenges, and like I would say, these 5 challenges that I put in here is just what I feel that as the main ones, but the list can be endless. Some people have more challenges in this area, right? So but how do we overcome all these challenges, because it's not something that cannot be solved, or like something that should be stopping you from starting to develop any e-learning content. So I would like to share some of the approaches that you can some of the approaches that you can apply in starting to develop your e-learning content. So first things first, of course, even like myself, even though I know how to plan or structure a lesson, yes, in the designing phase, in the designing of the lesson, yes, I can do that. But to go deeper into e-learning development, because of course you can design the lesson, but then if you want to start developing, you have no choice but to get to know and achieve competency at utilizing the necessary tools and platforms. So I think in today's world, there is no limit to learning all these things. There are various resources that you can find. The trainings are available. You can look for opportunity for the training to use the tools, and then there are tutorials can be found on YouTube. And I don't know, like nowadays maybe younger generations would use TikTok or something. I did find some like TikTok account that is for instruction designers, so they give like certain tips and tricks at using tools and everything. So the resources is abundant, so there's always learning can be done at your own comfort, I would say. So it should be an effort to be competent. I think like in to start, basic competency is fine, and also just focus on getting the competency and utilizing the main tools. Like for example, later I would go deeper into that, which is Articulate 360. So that's the main one. So like don't bother at trying to, how to say, learn all the tools at one go. Like you learn Articulate and then you want to learn for example Adobe or beyond, all the media creation. Yeah, that would be like ineffective. So my advice is just to start to know the main authoring tool for e-learning development itself, because inside Articulate itself, there are a lot of things that you can create. It can be a good how to say, a good e-learning module just by using Articulate itself. Okay, later I will show what is it about. Okay, so that's the first one that you can do. And then second one, when you are creating the lessons, you can include small chunks of activities in between content or lesson for learners to reflect on their grasp of the topics. And then you can provide necessary feedback. So this is coming back to the issue of not getting immediate feedback or understanding of the learners during the lesson. So even though you can, as a trainer or as an instructor, you cannot be physically there to assess your learners, but by providing small activities in between lessons, in between topics, you can make the learners assess themselves, assess their understanding at a certain point of a lesson. It doesn't have to be at the end assessment, but it can be in between. These activities can help learners to reflect themselves on their own understanding, and then we can provide feedback like, okay, that is correct, or if it's incorrect, what will be the answer, what are the explanations to the answers. All right, so and then activities in between, it helps the learners to keep engaged to the lesson. Okay, not because if they just go through lesson from beginning to an end, just explanation, it will be, the engagement would be reduced by a certain point, at a certain point of the course. So it's best to provide activities, and then but then do not make sure you do not restrict the learners of their progress with these activities. By restrict, I mean, because, sorry, excuse me, when you have e-learning content, right, you can always put restrictions to how the learners would progress. For example, okay, they have to go through this slide first, finish all the explanation, only then they can proceed. But then when you have activities, you must not make it necessary for them to like answer everything correctly, only then for them to proceed, even though you want to test their understanding, but that would be like counterproductive, because at a certain point, if learners cannot proceed, they will lose motivation, they will lose interest, and just close the course altogether. So that would stop their engagement towards a lesson. So just provide the activities in just enough for them to assess their own understanding. All right. The next one, when we talk about just now lack of connection between, there's no like rapport developed between learners and the lesson itself, because there's no one particular figure of instructor or trainers there. But then what you can do is to make the learners feel engaged to the lesson. You can use language and tone that speak directly to the learners. When I say speak directly to the learners, means you use language like for example, let's proceed to the next lesson. Say, now you are in this topic. I mean, like talk to the learners, not to use all the textbook language in your content. So that this is where I don't know, some element of copywriting is needed for you to create narration or lines that feels like an instructor talking to the learners. So this is one way to get the learners engaged, even though there's no real instructor or trainer, right? And then we can also adopt blended approach by integrating visual discussion and activities to facilitate face-to-face interaction and foster a sense of community. This is also regarding the connection or rapport. Even though you deliver your content, your lesson through e-learning format, but I believe for universities or educational setting, we can have a blended classroom approach, right? Where you have e-learning content, e-learning course, and then you can also have a session to discuss, or you have activities. It can be virtual, it can be face-to-face activities. So there's an integration of other activities besides the e-learning itself. So that can help to foster the relationship or to bond with the with you as an instructor or trainer. So this can also be adopted or practiced. And then lastly, because when you start developing, for example, you start developing your first ever e-learning content, right? You may not know like whether it works or not, because all this while we have been so used to face-to-face interaction. So when we translate the same content into e-learning, we might not know like how is it effective towards your students or your participants. So we can to how to say, to get the feedback, okay, you can maybe create like questionnaire or give survey to your learners for them to give their feedback. So you can see probably even though it may not be a detailed data of how effective your content might be, but at some point you can still see what the learners at least think of their whole experience of the learning that you created. All right, so briefly, that's how you transition, that's how you how to say, if you want to start building e-learnings. These are some of the basic approaches that you can take into account for you to start building. So you are not restricted by all the challenges that we have discussed just now. All right, so basically that's the first step into getting into developing your e-learning content. All right, so far, is there any question from anyone, or are we good to proceed?
Yes, we have one actually.
Yep.
We have one question. This is basically from your introduction. How do you jump into being ID? So someone is curious, maybe they want to change their career path after this, want to become ID. So how do you transition from becoming from teaching into ID? So that
Right.
would be the questions.
Okay, thank you. So interestingly, after I become an ID, right, and then we join like the community on LinkedIn or something. So and then we meet a lot of ID that transition from teaching. So that means what I would say is there's a lot of ID right now who are former teachers, teachers or lecturers or something. So how did I transition from becoming from a teacher to become an ID? I would say there is no like specific reason or specific how to say goal or anything, because like I mentioned, I was just looking for like what is the possible, like because I have a degree in education, so what are the
Yep.
other possible field that I can venture into. So I came into instructional designer, and then when I look at the requirement of the job, and then when I already at the job, I feel that it is something that there's a lot of how to say knowledge or experience from teaching that I can bring into being an ID. So there's a lot of skills that I use as a teacher into becoming an ID. So I can find certain gaps that from, for example, a content that is being created by someone else. So being a former teacher, I did find like a certain gaps of, or maybe we should include a certain things in between this so that it will be more effective, or it will be more connected. And then the type of activities that I would want to introduce, or maybe like before the lesson, what should we present so that the learners would be interested. So those are the elements of what I bring from teaching into becoming an ID. It's just, I would say only the subject matter is different, but the foundation of these how to say designing a content structure is more or less the same, I would say. And then you also need to take into account like the different types of learners that you might have. So that is also what we need to consider when designing a lesson in an academic setting. So it's all the same. And how do you create one lesson that would cater to all these different type of learners? Those things, I think
Those are the challenges.
the challenges. And also if you have the skills that you already practice in teaching, in academic teaching, it still can be applied into instructional design, even though it's like considered as two different fields, but the foundation of it I consider the same. That's why you can find a lot of IDs who are former teachers.
All right. Okay.
All right. So that's about.
There's one more question from the audience. I would like to know, if I include quiz in between the lesson, do I need to provide the answers or marks to the learners? So meaning that the question is that if there is a quiz, should there be the correct answer to be provided, or is it okay to left the student to be unknown to the correct answer?
Okay, that one actually depends. Like, okay, if you ask me just now whether do we need to provide marks, it's depends on what you, how to say, different lesson you want to achieve different things, right? So marks can be something that is in how to say, motivating to the learners. Obviously you can provide marks. And then answers is also needed, I would say, because there's a difference between knowledge check and assessment sometimes, because some course they require learners to, I don't know, like pass 80% from whole question, right? So in this if you are doing questions for this part of your course, means for the assessment, usually we don't provide questions, they just answer, and then at the end, okay, this is your mark. If you don't pass, you just repeat. So we don't provide answers, because it is to assess your understanding, and then macam like an exam lah, right? Certain marks. But then if you are providing knowledge check in between the lessons, so these are things that you put in to assess their progress, their understanding in between topics, right? So you want them to, if let's say they miss a certain part where they answer wrongly, so you have to give a feedback for them to know, oh, actually this is the right answer. So if you are putting in knowledge check in between lessons, it is best to put the answers, because it's the whole purpose of putting knowledge check is to to mark on their progress, their understanding so far at that certain point of a lesson, right? So if they answer incorrectly, for example, the answer is wrong, and then that's it. So the learners would still, they are already in like a blur mode. They don't know what's the
Yeah.
answer. They answer wrongly, but then there is no
Feedback.
yeah, there's no feedback
Yeah.
on what is the right answer that you should have. What is the information that you should have at this point is not provided, so it will be how to say, again, counterproductive. So to answer your question, it's a best practice to always give feedback and the correct answers at each knowledge check in between lessons. Yep.
Right. I think that's the question for now. Maybe we can proceed to the next part. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so the next one, we will look into the designing and development planning of creating an e-learning module. So here I listed some of the main ones. As I said, probably the list can be exhaustive, but here I would like to highlight the key elements that you need to take into consideration when you design your e-learning modules. Okay, so here I have broken down into two parts, which is at the design phase and at the development phase. So these two phases are different, because at the design phase, you need to design your whole structure of the lesson. That means what do you start with, and then like which topic come here, and then what do you put in between, any activities. So those are the design phase, when you are designing the whole structure. Okay, you are not taking into consideration all the technical parts of your courseware. Okay, so we are talking only designing the lesson, like teachers writing a design plan. So this is a design phase. Okay, so at the design phase, for example, you have the content, the ready content that is usually the most common ones are in the format of PowerPoint or PDF. Okay, that's the content that has been delivered to the learners in, for example, face-to-face mode. So now you want to start developing your e-learning, so you have to design first the flow of your lesson. So first things first, it's very important to know your audience and your targeted outcomes. So know your audience means, like, who are the learners, the end user of this content that you would need to know. So by having the idea of who your users are, who your audience is, you would, while you are designing and even developing, you would always have this idea of who's your end user. So it's very important to know whether they are, I don't know, for example, based on my experience, right, creating a certain content for a certain company. Like, say I'm creating anti-bribery module, for example, for a certain bank. So usually anti-bribery module is a compulsory module for every single employee of the company. So that means it is very general, okay, general content. But then there are also some situation where I need to create a certain content, but it is meant for only the managers or the board of directors. So in that case, the audience is, considered different group of people. So we have to have the idea of who the audience are while designing and developing your content. And then, of course, your targeted outcomes means your learning objectives. Because why do we need to have a certain course or certain lesson if we do not have the objective, right? So it always comes as the goal of your lesson. So in the beginning, it's always best to have your learning objectives, because I have come across a lot of content owners. I mean, the clients that I've worked with before, they have the content first, but not the learning objective. It's like the learning objective is drafted after we have the content. So I think that's I wouldn't say it's wrong, but slightly, how to say, not systematic. Usually we should have the objective first, only then we come up with the content. Because why do you have certain content if you don't have a purpose towards learning it, right? So setting the outcomes in the beginning of a lesson is very important. And then set clear learning goals and emphasize the relevance and importance of the material being taught, right? So this also related to the outcome. So of course you have your outcome and then you list it as your learning objectives in the beginning of a lesson. I know for like academic learning, usually you know, in the beginning of the lesson, we would have the learning objective. Let's like in this lesson, you will learn this, and then you come into the topic straight away. It is fine. I mean, it works to list out the objectives in the beginning and then only coming into any part of the content itself. But what I want to emphasize right here is that when you have an e-learning module, right, usually the learners, I have to be honest, even when I have to go through a certain online training, I'm not 100% how to say, engaged to the lesson all the time. You know, it's normal because sometimes we just go through the lesson, the courses as a because it's compulsory. But what can set your courses apart from the others is when you can establish the importance of the material being taught. Because before we come into like what are the things that we're going to learn, it's best if you can present the why before anything. Like, why do I need to learn this? Because when the learners open the course, when they are being presented with something that is eye-catching for them, that ignite their interest towards learning the lesson, then probably their engagement level would be higher than if you do not have this context. Okay, I give you some example. Again, my example would be, you know, in anti-bribery course, for example, right? Because I have created this course a lot for a lot of clients, so I can use this example a lot. So when we create anti-bribery courses, if we are doing it, you know, in a traditional way, we will put learning objective. So in this module, you will learn what is bribery, what are the offenses, what is the penalty if you commit bribery, blah, blah, blah. And then you go into the lesson, you start with the definition. What is bribery? Bribery is this. And then you go into, you know, all the acts under Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. And then you go into the penalty, and then you give scenarios. Scenarios is good examples to be used in e-learning. But through my experience, what is missing here is the context that is to be set in the beginning of the lesson. So what I have applied ever since is that before we go into, even before you present the learning objectives, I always go with the problem first. So let's say my course would be like, okay, welcome to this course of anti-bribery and anti-corruption. And then you can straight away present a scenario, for example. So in this context of anti-bribery, right, based on the discussion that I have with the subject matter experts, the people that I collaborate with, they mentioned that everyone knows bribery is wrong, but sometimes people commit bribery because they don't know that the situation that they are in or things that they do is actually bribery, is actually corruption. They are not aware. So in this context, I put, for example, the scenario, like, okay, you work as something, you know, like a bank officer. So one day your client gave you a gift worth 2,000 ringgit. So to appreciate the gesture, you accept the gift. But actually the situation is wrong. Someone should not take the gift, for example. So by putting that kind of example in the very beginning, that's where you can capture the learner's attention. Because like I said, some learners, some youth, people, they do not know that the situation they are in is wrong. So when they look at such situation or such scenario being presented, right, they will say, oh yeah, I think I had been in this situation, or I do not know that it is wrong. So when they have that thought, now they are looking forward into the content because they want to know why is it wrong. So why should I not do it? Why should I not accept the gift? things like that. So after you present the problem, only then you can present the learning objective. So because of this problem that you have, this issue that we have in mind, now this is the goal of this lesson. So the goal of this lesson is to provide you with the understanding of something. So basically to provide the solution to the issue that you might face when you are in a certain situation, and then only you go into the content. So that's how I would plot my lessons, the flow of the lessons, to always start with giving the importance of why they need to go through this module. Because let's be very honest, if you start your lesson with an with the definition, then it will be, I mean, for people who are interested to learn, yes, the engagement can be very good, but then not everyone is like interested to learn anti-bribery. Sometimes they say like, I know what bribery is. I don't have to go through this lesson. So you want to give this kind of trigger to them so that they look forward to your content. So that's about emphasizing on the relevance and the importance of the material that is delivered. All right. So that's in the beginning, basically like the introduction part of your content. Next one is lay out the systematic topics and subtopics breakdown. So this is very important for learners to navigate through the topics. So it's also different in a face-to-face learning. For example, you have an extensive amount of content, like different chapters, and then you feel that, oh, I can just like teach this, in the single flow. I don't have to think of how to break down the topics or whatnot, because there is a presence of an instructor or a teacher or a trainer to talk about each one. But when they are learning something independently, remotely, they are doing it alone. There's no one to guide them. So the breakdown of the topics and subtopics have to be very systematic. They should know what are they navigating through, know where they are, the progress and everything. So you have to very carefully curate your topics, and how do you put like which content to be under which topic, and then how do you flow from one topic to another. Because I have a lot of experience in reshuffling the sequence of the content. For example, I receive a content from one client. So let's say they have 9 topics, topic 1 to topic 9. So in many cases, when I do the content analysis before I start developing or designing the content itself, I would reshuffle. Like I think some topic at the bottom should be in the beginning or should be in the middle. So we have to always review and revise the content when we are translating it from face-to-face to e-learning. All right. Okay, next one is also very, very important. This is some skills that have to be through experience. I would say if normal face-to-face trainers, they would struggle with identifying the content that have to be put inside e-learning. Because just now when we talk about to adapt the content that is used from face-to-face into e-learning, right, it may not work the same. You have to carefully define what content should be in and what content should be not. So this is where you should distinguish between the must know and good to know kind of information, because you cannot dump every single thing into your e-learning. It would be effective if there's too much text, if there is too many information that is inside the e-learning. Sometimes the learners would lose their motivation or attention. So that's why it comes back to your targeted outcomes. Okay, so for you to define what is the must know and good to know, you have to come back to your outcomes. So when you have like a certain content that is very long, then you say, okay, how do I fit this into my e-learning slides? And then this is where you should distinguish whether this one must be in or not. Some information is already, for example, if the learners of the course, the user of the course that you are creating, right, they already have a past knowledge on certain things. So sometimes you might not have to put a certain information into this current content because your learners have already have the idea of what that certain things are. So like I said just now, when you know your audience and when you know your targeted outcomes, this is the two main key element that you have to consider throughout your whole designing and development phase. All right. So you have to distinguish because you don't want to put a lot of text, you don't want to dump all the content inside there. And then when I say like good to know kind of information, sometimes it can be totally removed, eliminated from the current content that you're creating. And sometimes you can also include them as, like external link. You can attach them as documents. There is other ways. So not everything have to be in that, in that slide, in that content that they have to view and listen to throughout the whole content. So you must always revise your content accordingly when you want to translate between face-to-face into e-learning, right? And then next one is you have to be concise and straightforward, while at the same time provide significant context or overview. Yes, you don't want to be too long-winded. You don't want to beat around the bush. You want to go straight because in e-learning, another aspect that is to be considered is your duration of your content. Because content that is too long, if it's like more than 30 minutes, is already considered a very long content. So you don't want to have, let's say you create a video, you don't want the video to be too long, a scenario to be too long. Everything has to be straightforward and concise. But at the same time, you have to provide sufficient context and information to a certain content that you provide. So if you want to be like too straightforward and then you straight away jump into certain content without providing context or necessary information, then your learners will be lost as well. So you must provide context and overview, but at the same time it has to be concise and straightforward. All right. And next one is also very important, because in a lesson usually we have like, multiple topics, multiple subtopics. So everything has to be linked accordingly. When I say link, means when we provide context, right? Context doesn't have to be only in the beginning, like in the introduction, what's the lesson is all about. But in between topics also, you must have a clear connection of how, like, you have your introduction topics and then you go into your first content topic and then you go to the second one. So how each topic is connected to each other, it has to be clearly defined, because I'm not sure like what kind of content that you guys will be creating, but then there should be a certain, it can be, the context, it can be just like one line, for example, okay, in the previous topic you have identified this. Now let's apply this knowledge into something. So that's how you create a connection between each topic. So it is very important to keep the learners engaged and aware of where they are, what are they progressing into, and then the sequence of the topic must be very clear. So that's why it has to be at this point when you want to decide on the breakdown of your topics and subtopics. So this part is very important so that you can provide a very clear connection between each of these topics. All right. So basically at the design phase, these are the
Fundamentals, I would say.
yes, the fundamentals that you have to take into account when you design the whole structure of your lesson before getting into the development. So at this point, any questions so far?
Yes, we have two actually. This
Yeah.
is really interesting session because last time when we have a session, questions usually come towards the end, but in between we have now a question. The first question that we have is that laying out the topics itself, do you like have a template for it when you design it?
Okay, to lay out topic doesn't have to be you don't have to have a specific like template. Basically, laying out a topics means just for example, if there's a need to rearrange, like I mentioned just now, to rearrange a certain topics to be, the sequence to be different. So that's it's about laying out the topic. Whatever template that you have, for example, you have all your topics and subtopics and content in a certain table. Yeah, it can be that. It can be anything. There's no specific template for you to lay out. Just it's best to have like the elements that you can gather in your whatever template that you have is, for example, the big topic, and then the content, like the basically like the items in the topic, and then probably, I don't know, if there's any activities that you want to list down as well. So those are the elements that you can put, and then when you list everything out, then you can see where you want to rearrange certain topics or subtopics to
I
be
see.
in different sequence, or like certain items should be in a different topic, things like that. So there's no specific templates.
So basically, it is safe to say that while we design the layout of the topics itself, which one is first, which one is next, it is best if we put ourselves as learners.
Yes.
We put our point of view as learners. How would they perceive this kind of information? All right. The second question will be, how long does it typically take to create an online courses? For example, time needed for 32 contact hours for face-to-face course from design, setup, test, and run. So yeah, I think if this is the question, it might be depends on the overall content that we need to create. But yeah, let's hear from Miss Rushdia.
Okay, so I have to be honest, I have very little idea of when you mentioned 32 credit hours, like I cannot like picture in your context how much the content will be. But in terms of how to say, estimating the duration of your development, usually, like based on my experience, we look at the number of slides. Like for example, if it's in the PowerPoint format, right, we look at the total number of slides, how much is the content. Basically, that would define the scope of the content, like how long would it be. And then also I have to be very honest, because as an instructional designer, I even from the previous company and as well as this company, I work as an instructional designer to design the course. But in terms of establishing the whole project management side of the development process, I have very little knowledge about how actually a certain content is being how to say, how do the duration is being established. But in rough idea I can give to you is that if you have like for example, like one module that have about 5 to 6 topics, okay, 5 to 6 topics, and then maybe each topic would have about, I don't know, 6 slides, 6 content, 6 items. Then usually one courseware would take about roughly 3 months to be created. 3 months, including from the very first step, which is content analysis. So content analysis is this part where you lay out your topics and subtopics, you define the content that you want to put in. So this is content analysis part. And then we move to the design part, development, graphic creation, multimedia creation, testing, and then delivery. So in that length of duration of content, then it will be roughly 3 months. So so and also from the rough content that we have, it's a content that is not being translated yet, we can have an estimation of the e-learning, the e-learning output as well. But then again, I have to be very honest, I have no specific knowledge on that. How is the amount of content being translated into duration? But then in general, I would say it
3 months is the best.
yeah, it's
Yep.
3 months for that amount of content that I just mentioned, but also it totally depends on the
Mm.
your amount of content, and then your how to say, the level of your e-learning, because in e-learning we have basic and intermediate and advanced. So at what level are you developing, right? So these all this will define your duration. In terms
Yes,
of
indeed.
creating it, and also at the, even sometimes we can also see at the, even testing part would take longer if your
Yes.
e-learning is more complex. So it really depends on how it is, and also it depends on your own pace. That is also another thing to consider. So I have to be honest, there's no specific answer on a certain amount and how long will it take. It really depends. Yep.
Just to share a quick story. When we work last time in e-learning minds, there is one project with one government company. It started in 2019, and until 2024, the project is not yet finished. So it is due to certain kind of management issues from their side. So yeah, we cannot really say what is the duration of time yang betul-betul. But to be safe, most project what we plan, it is supposed to finish within 3 months. One project is supposed to finish in 3 months, including all the design, all the development, implementation, and also testing before we pass it out to the clients. Okay. Oh yeah, Prof Mira raised her hand. Yes, Prof. Do you have any question?
Yes, I have a question. So, Ms. Rosdia, it's very interesting. It's very insightful sharing. But I just want to ask, because if you have a look, like for example, Coursera, in which a lot of modules, it has instructors explaining things, and then you have all those kind of things, right? But we also have a model of e-learning in which, for example, study.com, which is, it doesn't have instructors, so it basically is just slides with narratives. So from your experience, which one is more closely adopted by industry? Is it the one with the instructors on, or the one with just the narratives with no instructors? Thank you.
Okay, I have to say that the one that is mostly adopted by like the corporate organizations and in the industries, I would say the ones without the instructors, because that's the whole purpose of e-learning, because we want to make it more simplified. Because I believe some subject matters require a certain someone to deliver the content with the instructor, right? But if there is no specific needs to use a certain to have a certain instructor in, usually it's the normal e-learning that we would come across nowadays would all be without instructors. It's just narrations and interactivities. So that's how it is more engaging for the learners to have more interactivities rather than having an instructor. Yeah, but I'm not sure if, like, there is certain needs to have an instructor to maybe explain a certain subject matter, then it is we might include that. And in fact, I have actually created one handle one project which we have to include a video recording. So in that video recording, that's where we have a person considered an instructor of that course to deliver the content. So that is why is it not widely used, is because when we have that kind of approach of e-learning mode, we have to consider a lot of other things, basically like writing and drafting the script to fit the use of instructor, because to write a script for the narration inside e-learning where there is interactions in between is different than creating a narration script for an instructor. And then yeah, there's a different challenges. And then if you take into account the element of costs that they have to bear if they have an instructor or someone to deliver the course, then it's different. So the simplest, the basic, and the most effective ones that is widely used right now is just e-learning with interactivities. Yep.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we have one more question before we move on to the next part. Once you are done with systematic topics, do you do a pilot to it? Pilot testing. Well, that is the simple answer will be yes, right? We do the pilot testing before we proceed with the next
Yes.
part.
Yes.
Yeah. We call it
Um,
as user acceptance test, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah.
Of course we have to do this like what you call pilot test, because not only, even though when we create a certain course, it has been reviewed by, you know, like the content owner, the subject matter expert, they have review and they see, oh, the course is good to go, but there's always tests needed to be done, because we need to look at the technical side of the courseware itself, you know, like whether the button works properly, or where your certain, I don't know, certain look and feel might be a little bit off. It might be certain elements would be distracting. So we would gather some people to go through the content as a learner, from a learner's perspective. So they would give their feedback, and then if there's some technical issues, you know, certain button doesn't work, there's no and then at the end, after they answer the question, there's no mark being displayed, things like that. So of course it needs to be tested before officially being deployed to the end user. Yep.
All right. Okay, we can proceed to the next part. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So right now this is on the design part. So next we are going to look into the development part. All right. So when we talk about development, this is where you would utilize the tools. Okay, for example, like Articulate 360. I know some people, like people who have been in this industry way before, they have like other tools as well, like Captivate, or I'm not very familiar with all this. But now I would say most of them would use Articulate. Is the most widely accepted and very, I would say, like user friendly, and there's a lot of things that can be done on that tool. So when we talk about development, it is more on the utilizing that particular tool. All right. So when we come into the development, so these are some of the important things that also need to be taken into account when you are starting to develop. So but I believe when we talk about instructional designer, right, this is also like very gray area of what are the scope of instruction designer, because like certain organization they have different scope of work. For people like instruction designer, do they also do the development? Some instruction designer, they will stop only at designing the lesson. That means in other words, they just put the lesson together in, I don't know, in PowerPoint or in Word document, for example. So they have the flow of the lesson. So that's the scope of instruction designer. But development is being done by someone else. So that can be a scope of an ID at a certain place. But at a certain place, like for me right now, I'm doing designing and developing, but my designation will still be instruction designer. So this is like interrelated roles in between designer, developer, and all those things. So just to be clear, some instruction designers, they may not have to develop. It's like not in their scope. But some instruction designer, they have to design and develop as well, right? So when you are coming into the development stage, there's a lot of things to be considered, from the bigger things to very, very small details. But here I would like to highlight the key ones, the most important ones. Okay, first one is, do not overcrowd the slides with too much text. I think this is quite general, even though, let's say, we're not talking about e-learning, let's say we are only creating PowerPoint slides. Also, it is not a good practice to overcrowd the slides with too much text. So this is where just now we talk about know your, how to distinguish whether it's a must know or a good to know information. So even though after, let's say, you have your final content, okay, now you already come into development, this one particular slide have a lot of contents. It is not a problem, but how you want to plan it with your interactions that can solve the problem of overcrowding the slides. So having a lot of content does not mean it cannot be done into e-learning. It can be done, but this is where you would incorporate interactivities. So interactivities, later when we go into talking into the tools that we're going to use, I would show some of the interactions that I use. So you can put, like, one item can have a lot of information, a lot of text, but it's not in one frame. So that's the key, is not to be in one frame that learners have to read like a book. Okay, we don't want that, because this is not a textbook, or not like lecture notes or something. It's a e-learning, so it has to be visually attractive, or engaging for the learners. So in order to not overcrowd the slides, you have to use some the interactivities accordingly. So this is what Articulate 360 can offer you. That you can customize a lot of things inside there, and make even though your content is heavy, your content is there's a lot of information that needs to be put in, but you still can manage it accordingly if you use this particular tool. All right, so that is on the content side. And then besides that, okay, we don't want an e-learning to have only text, like from the beginning until the end, just text. So there's no point of creating it as an e-learning. Even though you might have interactivities, you might have buttons to click and everything, but then we have to make it attractive by including some multimedia content like videos. Okay, I would also just later will show you briefly about the video creation tool. And then if you can have some animations and certain simulations that can make your content more interesting. But then again, even though it is best to have a lot of different multimedia content inside your e-learning, there's also a limit to it. You cannot like put everything as a video, you cannot put everything together with pictures or everything with icons. That will be overcrowding your content as well, even though it's not with text. So it has to be planned accordingly, like which part of your content can be in video format. Now which one should I attach an image to it? Also this is a planning that you need to know. And also not to worry too much if you don't have the capacity to create certain graphic, create certain video. That should not also be the barrier to you from creating in e-learning. There's always like templates or ready-made images that is available online that can be used. So do not put this as your barrier towards creating. You can use a lot of alternatives. Okay, that means even though you don't create them from scratch, that you can still put them into your lessons. You can still integrate them. All right, and then when we talk about your e-learning content, just now I mentioned it shouldn't be too long. Okay, if you have like a long, let's say you're just now 32 credit hour, if I'm not mistaken. So in that amount of content, you have a lot, then you have to break them down into different modules, for example, or maybe like micro learning kind of content, because we don't want the duration of your one particular e-learning to be too long. All right, so in your work of curating the right setting up the right duration of your content, you must also carefully select and determine which part of your lesson, of your content, is to be narrated. Because when you create e-learning, of course, you can insert voiceover to narrate the content, so that it won't be 100% self-reading kind of content. Because let's be honest, sometimes learners don't want to read. They just want to, some learners would maybe open the e-learning and then like do something else. So they would like to listen, or maybe because they are like auditory kind of learner, I would say, so they prefer narration. So we have to have narration inside e-learning, but it must be carefully defined which part should be narrated, which part should be click and then reveal content for self-reading and then close. So you have to to determine. Not everything should be narrated, okay? Unless your content is really, really small, then you want everything to be narrated from beginning to the end, it's fine. As long as your duration does not be too long. I would say more than 30 hours module is already considered too long, right? So try to size down your content where it is possible. Okay, so next one is incorporating storytelling, real world examples and scenarios to make the content relevant and relatable. Obviously, this is very something that is known by everyone, that if you have real life examples, scenarios, then it is more relatable. When it is more relatable, the learners would see why they should go through the lessons. If it is straight away facts, just this information, just like if the same as they read books, then there's no point of creating into e-learning. There's no sense of motivation for them to go through that. But so like the example I provided before this, in anti-bribery course, so what kind of information, what kind of examples that you can put in to capture the attention of your learners? So you can incorporate this storytelling, real world examples. Some organizations, like the ones that I collaborated before, we always use a scenario where the person is at that company. So for example, if I create the module for CIMB Bank, for example, so the character would be Mr. X is a staff at CIMB Bank. So you have to make it personalized, so it is relatable, so they can put themselves in a certain situation. But of course, these real world examples and scenarios also depends on the content that you would deliver, right? So not everything can be you cannot incorporate this kind of approach in all the content. So it really depends, right? But it's best if your content can give certain scenarios, real life scenarios, something that's totally relatable, then it is best to include. And then next one, okay, this is also very important. I also learned this. I would say if I look at the modules that I created in the early days, in like the first 2 or 3 modules that I created when I first started Become an ID, I would say there's a lot of inconsistency in terms of the design of the whole look and feel of the module. It's like all over the place, even though it's at that time it's already being approved by the content owners, by the clients themselves. They feel like it's okay, yeah, they like it, so we deliver the content. But then after a few years, when I already have a certain amount of experience, then I look back at all my old content, it's really something that I'm not happy with, because there's a lot of inconsistency in terms of the use of image, the use of icons, shapes, fonts. Sometimes there's a mix. For example, if we use shapes, okay, let's say in your course you have a square, a rectangle that is sharp edges, and then another slide you use a rectangle that is rounded corner. So even though it's very small detail, but this can be considered as inconsistency in the design, in the look and feel. So I know this one will take time for a certain developer to actually notice and consider this in your development process, but it has to be noticed that all these small details are actually will impact your consistency of your module. And then of course not everyone will have the eyes for this. Sometimes they don't care or they don't mind these kind of things, but as a developer, if you have the knowledge and the experience already, you would already identify all these small details of providing consistency in your e-learning. So this one is like on the go lah. Even though I mark that as important, but as you go, experience, you would notice all these things. Not in the beginning, definitely, yeah.
People with OCD will be triggered.
Yeah.
This one lah. Yeah.
This is also something that very very interesting when I have this kind of things that I need to consider in my everyday work, right? You know, looking at the small details, looking at spaces between words, looking at the arrangement, the alignment of certain text. So it has been bothering me whenever I go anywhere. If I look at certain writings that is, you know, not aligned, or there is like a double space or things, I will like point it out.
Yeah.
So it's been bothering in graphics or in text, so you know, it doesn't matter. So because we are doing this every day, so
Yeah.
it's affecting our our personal lives as well, right? So this is regarding the consistency. So consistency in terms of look and feel, in terms of maybe I did not include that as well, but in terms of, for example, you have a narrator, right? You have a voiceover. It has also to be consistent, and as in like, what is the character that is going to deliver maybe the lesson, and then you have a certain character, a certain voice to deliver the quiz, for example. So you cannot mix it around. So for example, in this module 1, you have male voice to present the lesson, and then when you go into scenario, there's a female voice, and then when you go into quiz, there's maybe another female voice. It can be like that, it can be a mix of those, but then if you have multiple, but the pattern of it should be the same. That means when you are in content, it should be this person to narrate, this voice to narrate. If you are at scenario, it should be this person to narrate, and then if you knowledge check, you know, this voice to narrate. So it has to be consistent, because learners might be how to say, for people who consider these kind of things, they would say, why there is a mix of voices in different parts of your module. So these are the consistency that we want to take care of when we develop a certain e-learning. And then last but not least, instructions and navigation guide is very, very important as well. Because even though the tools that we use is considered like intuitive, you know, intuitive kind of will provide intuitive experience for learners, but not everyone is as intuitive as we expect them to be, right? That means if there is certain interaction on your screen, you have to click on certain items, it is best to always provide instructions, what they need to do at certain part, especially when your course is being restricted. For example, they have to finish this slide first, and then really they can click next. But then let's say you present a slide and then there's some interactions on that, but there's no instruction to it. Some learners they don't bother to, you know, to try or to see, oh, this looks like a button, or this looks like there's something I should click. They don't want to try that, and then they look at the next button, they cannot click. So what is wrong with this? So because they don't know what they need to do at a certain point, so they are stuck there, and it will affect the whole motivation and engagement through the lesson. So we don't want that. We want to avoid those things. It's best to always put instructions, or if your lesson is very simple, very straightforward, probably you don't want to put instruction at every slide. You can also give navigation guide in the beginning, or throughout the lesson they can click at the button and then see the navigation guide. Just like you play games, right? You can at any point you can, you know, go back to home and then see a certain progress or certain instructions probably. Yeah, so that can also be included in your learning to make it more effective, I would say. Yeah, so these are some important things that you would want to consider when you are at the development stage. Sorry, there's a typo here. All right, so again, any question at this point?
I think for the time being, belum ada lagi.
Belum.
So it is safe to proceed lah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the part where you design and develop. Okay, so I think at this point, we can look at the authoring tools, because you know, like, if you have no idea what is the tool is about, maybe when I mention interactivity, some of you might not know what it is. So in developing e-learning module, so like I have mentioned, the most widely used currently is Articulate 360. So if you look at you know, I don't know, like YouTube videos of any instruction designers or developers, this would be the tool that they are using. So actually under Articulate 360, there's, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8 different tool and platform, but you may not have to use everything. So the 3 tools, and one is actually it's a platform. So basically the 3 items that you have to know, a basic knowledge inside 360 is the 3 things: storyline, rise, and review. Okay, review link. So this basically the authoring tool would be these 2, storyline and rise. Review is for reviewing purpose. Okay, so storyline and rise both are authoring tool, but they provide different it depends on your the type of e-learning materials that you want to create, whether it's intermediate or advanced, or whether it's just basic e-learning module. So it depends on what kind of the level of your e-learning that you want to create. So for example, storyline, it offers the development of intermediate to advanced e-learning. So if you have, like, if you want to create a lot of interactivities, you know, you have a lot of buttons lah, flip cards lah, or you want to make it a gamified e-learning, then you have to use storyline. Okay, because you can customize every single interactions, you know, jumping from this slide to another and then come back. And then if you want to create like games where they have to collect points or something, so this is what storyline can offer. And then the whole look and feel can be, you can customize it as much as you want. You can use different layout, even the slides, the size, the dimension of your frame can be different. Just like PowerPoint, right? You have different size, and then you can, even though without the use of external media creation tool, like if you don't know how to say this, Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever, you can still make some basic can include some basic graphics inside your course just by using Articulate Storyline. So it is a very powerful tool. You can use it. And then in terms of gaining the proficiency, right, I would say as a start, it may not be something that is totally too new, because storyline is roughly based on PowerPoint. Actually, some of the items are like PowerPoints. It's just that you are in a storyline, you can make it interactive. Like in PowerPoint, you cannot make it, the most you can go is animation, right? You can have the items and the animation, but you cannot make it interactive. You cannot click on a certain items, you know, perform a certain action. But in storyline, you can do that. So it's like the advanced PowerPoint, I would say, right? Okay, and then you have Articulate Rise. Rise is very, very simple. If you want to start with e-learning development, if you think storyline is too complicated, you need a certain training to do it, then you can always start with Rise. Rise is very simple because it is meant for basic e-learning, because everything that you want to put in is already built-in templates. So you have the block, you will just put in your content. You don't have to customize any graphics. You can like customize certain colors. But that is like very general setting. It's not like every single item you can, you know, customize. It's not like storyline. I will show you later the difference between these two tools. And then after you create your content, you can make use of Review 360. Review 360 is a platform, I mean the link that you can use to do review. That means when you have create the course, so let's say you think that, okay, now I want my colleague to look at my content, maybe give some feedback or anything, so you can publish it and then you give this person the link. So this person can go through your module and they can provide comment inside that review link. Okay, so I will show you some examples of the courses that I have created. Oh, sorry, still here. Okay. Okay, later I will show you the tool itself, but here are some of the example of content. I mean, like screenshot from my previous content that I've created. So for example, this one, you can see this is actually flip cards. Okay, so you have this is the overview statement of this particular content, and then this organization, they have the core values. Their core values have the abbreviation of the word think, THINK. So each of these letter stands for a certain word. So you can, of course you can put T and then teamwork, for example. But how do you make it interesting? You can put it in this format of flip cards. So when they click the letter, and then it will reveal the word, and then probably you can also include some icons to it. So this is to make it more interesting, to make it more engaging, and they can actually remember, for example, when they have to remember the think concept, probably they will picture this slide. Yeah, so that is how you make your e-learning impactful to the learners. Okay, so this is one flip cards, and then you can also create, this is like a tab interaction. So as you can see on the slide, I have very little on the main slide, I have very little text, but actually this slide has a lot. The content is very long, it's a long text, but how do I present it accordingly? So here is just a statement, and then there's an instruction here. Click on each tab to know more. So when the learners click this, like either one of these, it will reveal, for example, this one. So these are all the content. It's still like one long content, but it is being, like being hidden in an easier language, or say being hidden, so they can like view one by one, and then they can click at the red part, and then it will reveal like the same way lah. Okay, so this is one way. So you don't have to like just put everything inside one slide in one frame at one go. So you can do this, use these kind of interactions. And then this is another example. So the 5 trust principles. So this is about this is under the anti-bribery course. So in anti-bribery under MECC, there is 5 trust principles. So in this trust principle, there is long explanation to it, but how do you make it effective to present? Then you can use this kind of interaction. So when they click, it will reveal one by one. Okay, so it doesn't have to be everything in one go. Okay, oh sorry, not yet. Okay, so this is some examples that I have from my articulate storyline. But I will show you, for those who I'm not sure if everyone have the experience or knowledge of storyline, but basically this is how it is. Sorry, how do I hide this? Okay, basically this is the tool. Okay, as you can see here, if I go to a certain slide.
Rush, rasanya dekat dalam slide lagi ke rasanya tu?
Sorry?
You are still in the same yeah. We can still see your Canva punya slide.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
let me stop sharing.
Yeah.
I will. Sorry, can you excuse me for 1 minute?
Sure.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, sorry for that. I'm back. Let me just can you see my windows now?
Yep.
Okay.
We can see the Articulate 360 post.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you can see storyline, right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, for those who may not have not seen Articulate or storyline specifically before, so this is how it looks like. This is the tool. Hold on, let me just minimize it a bit. Okay, so this is the tool that is used to develop most of e-learning content, basically
Yeah.
the intermediate or advanced kind of content. So inside here, you can see all the items, like I mentioned just now, is almost like PowerPoint. So basically you have, you can set colors, all these things, shape colors, shape outline, text. This is alignment, this is all the fonts. Basically it's like like PowerPoint, but what you can do is you can put here, you can see this part is a trigger. Trigger means what you want the object to do. Like for example, if a learner click here, click number 1, it will reveal this content, for example. It will reveal this tip. So that is the trigger that you can put. You can put instruction what you want a certain object to act upon. So and then you can also include, as you can see here, this is what we call as a timeline. So inside here is where you put your so everything that is on the slide will be reflected on the timeline. So what is the purpose of the timeline? You can arrange or adjust. Like for example, you want a certain voiceover to start at 5 seconds. So you will, like for example, drag the this one to be at 5 seconds. So this is what timeline is about. You want a certain things to appear from the beginning, like for example this one, because it from the beginning, so it appears at the beginning. So but let's say you want this item to appear at 3 seconds, after 3 seconds, then you will just drag. So this is the timeline. So you really can customize which things appear at what point, how do they behave, how do they, a certain audio is played, for example. So these are what storyline can do, and then there's a link for a certain slide. For example, let me just show a bigger picture. Yeah, for example, this slide, as you can see just now, there are like 7 items. So each of these will bring, for example, when they click here, when they click at number 1, it will show this content. And then here, they can play this video. And then when they click, it will link to, I'm not sure, number 1. Yeah, for example, this slide. So the behavior of how you want your e-learning to be, to flow, it's everything is customized here inside Storyline. So you can decide how you want it to flow, how you want a certain action to be done, a certain interactions, everything can be done. So this is what I'm showing you here is one of the most complex content. It's long and it has games, and as you can see here, I would like to share this one. This module, the concept is a board game. So let me just share this one. So this is the level, the to the extent of how complex you can create your e-learning to be. It doesn't have to be like just straightforward. Sorry, it doesn't have to be just straight away content and just facts. You can be as creative as you want. So this one, even though it's a as you can see here, it's for CIMB, right? It's a Islamic finance, principles of Islamic finance. So it's a very dry topic. It's very heavy and dry topic, but you can create it to become in the theme is about game, even though you're not actually playing board games, because when they click on each of these, it will lead them to a topic, and then inside the topic, then just the content and the scenarios. But you can have this idea or the general theme of your e-learning to be anything. It can be board games, it can be treasure hunt, or mystery, solving mysteries, things like that. Yeah, so this is it. As the learner come into it, so we will introduce the board game, and then we will introduce the topics that they will explore. Sorry, I think there's a VO that cannot be heard, but it's just, let's see, general and then there's dice, and then yeah, it will show what is their progress.
Some sort of gamification
Yeah,
kind of thing.
this
Yeah.
is one type of gamified e-learning. So when they come into a topic, right? When they come into an e-learning, if they can see this kind of approach. So even though, like I mentioned, it's like a very dry and heavy topic, but when they see this kind of approach being introduced, then you say, oh, I've never played a board game on an e-learning. So it's something that can be something capturing for the learners. So when they click, so for example, now we start the lesson, right? So when they hover to each item, they can see what it is for, and then when you click, so as if they are moved, but this one has been set lah. It's not like
Yeah.
really, it has been set so that say they move here, and then they will go into the first topic. So that's like how they move from one topic to another is being how to say, shown in the form of playing a board game. So this is what you can do with Storyline. It's a very powerful tool. It has a lot of functionalities that you can make use to see to build different kind of e-learning. Because in fact, when I first started using this, and when I saw a lot of examples of e-learning module built by other developers, and then when I look at it, I see, is this made by Storyline? Because when I first start using it, of course I have very basic knowledge, right? So when I look at certain courses that is so interesting, I could not believe that it is actually created by Storyline, but actually really Storyline, yes, have the ability, the how to say, the functionalities to build this the kind of the most complex e-learning content examples. Yep. Okay, so that's just briefly. Of course, we can talk about Storyline a lot, but it would take, I don't know, like a whole day. So this is Articulate Storyline for you to create intermediate to advanced e-learning. But for a start, you can also make use of Articulate Rise. So Rise is more simple, as I mentioned just now, is for basic e-learning, and it has built-in templates. So the difference is this is how it looks. You cannot like customize. You want the this part to be in the middle, cannot, right? So it's a
Everything preset.
yes, it's
Yeah.
already being set to you, preset to you. So you just put in your content. So for example, this is the introductory or your maybe your overview, your learning objectives can be here. So you just park your content here. You copy and paste, maybe you can structure a little bit, but the format of it, like for example, at this part is always text like this. You cannot put any graphic here. Okay. And then when you go into the content itself, okay, so as you can see here, this one, there is no example because here it says that you can explore this, right? So inside Rise, as you can see here, there's different types of blocks. Blocks means the template of it, right? So there are text, there is list, image, video, process, flashcards, sorting, label graphic. And then if you click here or view, this is the list lah. Right. So for example, you want to put a content in a format of flashcards. So if it's a Storyline, it's a blank, like a blank canvas. Every single thing you have to create your own. Let's say you want to create a flashcard, then you insert a shape, a rectangle shape, and then you put trigger to it. When learners click, the card will flip, something like that. So everything has to be created from scratch. So that's how you can customize. But inside Rise, for example, you want flashcard. So you go to interactive. And then, so this is flashcard, for example. So you click, it's already there. So what you have to do is just put your content inside there. So the level of customization, there's still some customization can be made, but it's not very it's not as Storyline lah. So for example, you go here, let's say you content, right? So the front of the card, so if you can see here, this is the front of the card, and then that is the back of the card. So what you want to put on each part can be customized. For example, okay, let's say front of the card, I want to put image, for example. You can, have a certain image, or you want to put icons, it can also be done. So that is the front. So, and then inside here will be the text. So you will insert your, for example, this is the contact. Okay, so this is the front, and then when you click, this is so this is if you want to introduce items that is short, simple, you can use this kind. You can put, like just now when I have the trust principle, yeah, it can be done. The image can be the letter, and then you click, that's the content. Okay, so this is if it's a flashcards, and you can also have different kind of interactivities. For example, I would show you the labeled graphic. So if you want to, sorry, not this.
The interactive, yep.
Okay, so labeled graphic is a good block if you want to use, you want to label certain diagrams, like in a lot of academic content, we have a diagram of, I'm not sure, machines or whatever. So we can use this kind. So this is the whole image, and then you just put your how to say, content inside here to describe what each thing is about, each thing or each part of it. So you can customize here, you can add as many items that you want. So let's say you want to label 8 things, 8 items inside the image, you can just add more, and then you would put the content inside here. Okay, so that is basically RISE. It's very simple. It can be mastered. I mean, like, you can learn the whole thing in just one day and then start to create. So it's a good start to create an e-learning. You don't have to jump straight to Storyline, even though Storyline is more interesting. But to start with, you can go with RISE. Okay, so I will just go briefly on some of the other tools that I would always use. For example, if you want to look for icons, you can go to this flat icon. Okay, these are all free icons that you can use. So just now when I mentioned about consistency of certain graphics that you can use, right? Here I want to just show you something. So for example, you have you use this kind of icons, for example. So if you see this icon, this is a colored icon with a black outline, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you have 10 items that you want to put 10 icons. So, and then also in maybe another slides, you want to use similar kind of icons, right? So it's best to be consistent. That means all your icons that you use should be this style. When inconsistency happens if, for example, the first icon you use is this, and then when you want to use another icon, you use maybe this type. You see, it's a different style already. There's no black outline here, and then even the color is like a different kind of shading. So you have to carefully select the icons that you want to use. So some to be safe, some people just use black outline without colors, so it's easier to find similar kind if you have like 10 different items. Yeah, so this is the type of icons that you can put in your e-learning. And then we have also Vyond. Vyond is a video creating tool used usually for scenarios or explanatory videos. So inside here you can create characters. Okay, I'm just going to show you this example. Just to see how it looks like, how usually e-learning developers create videos inside this. So this is Vyond. So there is already like templates of some scenes that you can put. Let's say you want to put a scene of in an office scene. So you want to create a situation of people in the office discussing about things. So sorry. So there's already scenes that templates here that you can use, and then you can create your own characters. Yeah. So this one, if you have the chance after you have start developing your e-learning, then you want to go into multimedia creation, then you can always explore this type of platforms. So it can be the same thing like storyline, you can put voiceover, and then here you can, customize the actions of the characters, the expressions, and all those things. So this is one of the also most widely used video creation tools. I think besides beyond, some people also use Powtoon. So
Yeah.
these are similar. I think in universities, Powtoon is the more common, I would say, because when I was teaching, I knew Powtoon first, and then only I didn't know what beyond. But Powtoon has also evolved a lot since the days that I know Powtoon, because
Mm.
now it has a lot of functionalities that can be similar like beyond as well. Yeah. So I guess that's it about my the things that I would like to share. So I just want to see that if you have question that you want to
Yeah,
ask.
we do have several
Yep.
questions.
Yep.
So basically the concept for storyline is like the hyperlink to the slides. Yes, indeed. I give my personal answer to this one. Yes, indeed. But it is more than that, because link dalam PowerPoint is basically hyperlink from slide to slide. But this one, it can be linked to another layer. It can be linked to another activities, and we can create some sorts of interaction in storyline itself. So I would say it is much more advanced in terms of using storyline. Maybe you have something to add, Rush, regarding Storyline 360?
Sorry, when you mentioned about hyperlink as in
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Inside PowerPoint, we can always link from one slide to another slide by clicking. We can make certain elements inside the slide as a button, something like that. So is it the same like storyline? The short answer is yes, but that is the basic concept. But in storyline, it is more than that, right?
Yep, in storyline,
Yeah.
you basically can customize. You can create interaction into anything. You can click on an image. You can click on an icon. You click on a shape, on a text.
Hotspot and what
Yeah,
else? Yeah.
even though there's nothing on it, you still can click, and it will still have an action if you have put the triggers right. So yeah, basically storyline, you can do anything. Of course, there's certain limitation, but a lot of things that you cannot do inside PowerPoint. Yeah. So
Then the next question will be, is the content provided by the client?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, because I create content for other people, right? So that means it's not the thing that I myself am teaching. So I create for someone else. So yes, it is provided by the client. So it is always a collaborative project. So for example, you have your content, but you have no capacity, have no time to create those things. So that's where you provide to other people, like the other people like me. So I would create a client would provide the content to me. So we will go through the content together to discuss. The content analysis part is very, very critical, because as an ID, of course, we have to like read the content, understand the content, but not necessarily means we have to know everything, because we have to ask every single thing that we do not get to the subject matter expert, and they have to explain to us, so that the content that we create is effective. There's no missing point or missing items in the content that we create. So yeah, the content that I've created, the content is created by the client. And this is when we talk about content readiness, right? Client, I mean the content owner should also be even though, for example, you want to create your own e-learning of your own content, the one that you yourself are teaching, for example, right? You have to ensure that your content is ready to be developed. You cannot have like very brief idea of a certain topic and then you want to create into e-learning. That would be very difficult in the development process. So first you have to establish a content readiness, a certain amount, certain level, and then the advice level is like 80%, at least 80% ready and to be developed. Maybe there's certain details that can be incorporated in between the development process, but for you to start the development, it has to be to reach a certain amount of content readiness. Yeah.
So just a sharing from what I have experienced last time. There was one project. It's about banking. I'm the one that in charge as the instructional designer. So the subject matter expert provide the content, but the problem is I don't really understand about banking. So when that happened, as instructional designer, we sit down with the subject matter expert at least 1 or 2 days to just understand the content. So that is something that we do lah last time when we were as instructional designer. Okay, so for the next question, I would like to know, do we create the online content on Articulate website or we can integrate it to our Microsoft PowerPoint? So yeah, Rush, on that.
Okay.
on that
So when you want to develop an e-learning content, right? Yes, you use Articulate 360. Articulate 360 is the software that you have to actually have a subscription.
Yeah.
So it is not a sorry to spoil this, but it is not a free tool.
Yes.
You have to have a subscription. And then it is you have to create it on that platform itself. So Articulate, if you use Storyline, then it is you are doing it as one file, just like PowerPoint.
Mhm.
You know, you save it on your computer as well. But if you use Rise, it is a web-based kind of platform.
Apps, yeah.
Yeah. So you use a browser to do it. But when you create in Articulate, you cannot integrate it into PowerPoint. It'll be like, actually it's reverse. If you have a content on PowerPoint, you
Mhm.
can import it into Storyline, so
Yeah.
that you have created a very beautiful slide. You want to maintain the look and feel,
Mhm.
then you can import on Storyline directly and then just put the interactions only. But the
Yeah.
look, the layout can be input, but it cannot be the other way around. Cannot be imported back to PowerPoint, right? Think
Okay.
that's it.
So the next, this is not, this is some sort of question. Rust would be good for newbies doing ID. Then yes, it is much straightforward, I would say. Less customization, much straightforward.
Yes. Sorry,
And
I would also like to share that how
Yeah.
easy it is to use Rise, right?
Mm.
And my current workplace, because I'm the only basically I'm the instruction designer, but my team is also opening the opportunity for people who are not instruction designers who would
Mhm.
like to venture into
Instruction design.
creating content or developing
Okay.
content. So they are inviting people to become what they call as risers. So they open this like
Is it?
this job, this opportunity for people who like to try in developing content by using Rise. And then the training only take 2 days, and then they can only start. So it is like, what I want to say is like, it can be used by just anyone. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be someone who's really tech savvy or anything. It's really, really simple. So yes, to Sharifuddin, yes, for newbie, you want to start, best to go with Rise first. Yep.
Right. So after we created the content, how do the client access the content?
Okay, so to assess the content, there are like 2 stages. I mean, like, first, in the review process, definitely when we create, before we have the final product, we have to have the review sessions. They have to like look at whether the content is correct or not, everything is good to go. So we use that's where I showed just now the what do you call that? The review 360. Sorry, maybe I did not touch on that entirely. So review 360 is for internal and external review and quality control. So when you review that through the review link, then they can actually sort of experience it like the actual e-learning that is on LMS, but it's just on a different platform, and that is not the actual final product lah. So they can review and then they can put feedback. That is during the review process. But at the end, if everything is good, then it is being published in a format called SCORM. So SCORM is the LMS compatible format. So whatever e-learning whatever content that is to be uploaded into LMS. If it's an e-learning, it is to be published as SCORM format. So that is also that you do within your storyline, you publish it as SCORM. So if you really learn storyline, maybe in the future, then you would know what I about SCORM. So that is the format of e-learning that is to be accessed by.
So basically, to put in another context is that when you create a video, there is MP4 format, there is JPEG format, MKV format. So basically, when we create using Storyline, we can publish it into different format, depends on which platform that we want it to use. But most of the time, we use Articulate to publish it as a SCORM packages because it's as Ms. Rusdia said that it is compatible to learning management system. Yeah. So the next question will be, does Articulate support foreign script like Arabic in terms of font, alignments, indentation? Tak tahu lah, Rush, this one, last time, do we have that?
Okay, this one a very good question because I'm also not sure. I think in terms of language, I mean the narration, okay, let's just take a look together because it's a very good question.
Yeah, let's just test it out. Last time, if I'm not mistaken, that there is Chinese, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Chinese, yes. Okay, for
Text to
example,
speech, yeah.
text to speech, right? The language that you want to use for narration, not all languages here. Malay is not here.
Yeah.
If we want to have Malay, you want to create Malay course and then you want to have the voiceover, you have to generate the audio through another platform. There's some other online platform that can generate Malay language narration, or some clients will use real life talent, they will record their voices and all that, but that is for Malay. But let's see if we have Arabic here. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do have Arabic.
So if I believe if they have the voiceover option, means you the font is compatible to be used in how to say, in Articulate. Yep.
Yeah.
I think okay, this is a very good question. I would find out about this because I cannot say for sure because I've never used any.
Yeah. We rarely use another different languages rather than English and Malay.
Even though it's a different language, but how to say, it's a Roman letters, for example. Yeah, but Chinese, yes, they can support Chinese characters. Arabic, I would say at this point, I would assume it is compatible because they have the VO option here. But I will get back. Maybe I will get back to Dr. Aizat regarding this if I figure out this on my from my end. All right. Thank you for the question, though.
All right. So it is safe to say that this Articulate 360 itself, from time to time, is being updated to suit all the to suit all the needs from learners itself. So maybe in future we can see that all the updates cater to all the needs from the users lah. All right, I think that should be the question, but we have one question. Then I think the question will is for me. I am subscribed to Articulate 360. The answer is no. I did not subscribe to Articulate 360, but CPD subscribed to Articulate 360. That's the thing lah. We do have one account, but sadly that account is a shared account. Not sadly lah. It is what we have for now. It is a shared account. It can be used, but to produce content, but not available for everyone. So yeah, hopefully maybe someone from today can strongly suggest to the university to subscribe this one.
Yeah.
So that's the thing lah. But for now, CPD managed to have one license that can be used, and it is open to the content creators for micro-credential. So for those who are planning to do the content using Articulate 360, you can liaise with admin from micro-credential, you can liaise with CPD, you can liaise with me, myself, so that we can assign you the accounts and you can start to do your content. But yeah, there's a process that need to follow. We can discuss that on another note lah. That's the thing. But yeah, to answer the question, there is no subscription from IAM, but CPD have one license. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, do you have any more question? Yeah, from anyone? Or anyone would like to open the mic to us? Someone might be doesn't want to type the questions. If there is no question for now, is Prof. Mira still here?
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah.
I followed diligently, so
Yeah. So, Prof, if I may invite you to give a few words to wrap up the sessions, just a little bit maybe. This is impromptu, Prof. Sorry for that.
no, it's okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Aizat and Ms. Rosdia. It's very inspiring. As I said, it's very insightful and very educating. I learn a lot, and I think I get a lot of ideas as well on how to improve and fix things that I probably overlooked before. So I truly grateful for this session to Microcredentials Unit and the leadership of Dr. Aizat, and of course the network that he brings to IUM with his previous experience in the industry. That's really means a lot, especially for to CPD. So it's really nice to have you today, Ms. Rusdia, and I wish you all the best with your future undertakings. You've done a lot of wonderful projects, so I'm very sure we will have a lot more sessions with you because there's
Yeah.
a lot of experience that we will need to learn from you as well. And to all participants, Jazakumullah khair for being with us with CPD today. This is the reason why CPD is around. The existence of CPD is very much because of you joining our training. So thank you so much. Jummah Mubarakah everyone. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamualaikum. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. All right. So before we leave the session, can we take a picture together? Sister Nat, are you ready to take the picture? And if possible, can everyone turn on the camera so that we can see everyone here? This is for the report for the upcoming meeting. So let's take a picture together. Sister Nat can do the counting if possible. Is it okay? Right. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Nat, okay ke? Are you ready, Nat? All right. I think let's count. Ready? Ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay. I think the next one. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. How many page do we have here? Okay. This is the first done, second done. Oh, we have 6. Okay, the third one. Okay, ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay, done with the third page. Now the fourth one. Ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay, the fifth, number 5. Okay, ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and the last one. Okay, ready in 3, 2, 1. All right, Alhamdulillah, we have done for today. Let's end our session today with tasbih kifarah in surah Al-An. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wa asina al-insana lafi allazina amanu wa bisolihati wa tawassaw. Amin ya rabbal alamin. All right, thank you so much, Rusdia, Miss Rusdia. Inshallah, we shall meet again. We'll try to plan maybe a workshop. Maybe we can invite you to here.
Yep, that we I'll be honored to do that as well. Thank you everyone for your
Yeah.
attendance. Thank you for listening. I hope it can be something beneficial for any of you to at least start doing the content creation. And then
Yeah.
I will also share my slides probably later in the email. So at the
Yeah.
end of my slide, I provided my email as well as my LinkedIn account if you would like to reach me regarding anything that you want to know about e-learning. If there's something
Yes.
I could help, I would
Oh,
definitely.
I do have one question though. Are you open for a side job? Maybe some of the lecturer want to do a content creation. They want to hire you. Might
Yeah,
be, I don't know.
depends on my capacity. I would have to look at the scope, and then
Yes, okay.
definitely, or maybe for the very least, I can provide some advice or guide
Okay.
to do it. So yeah,
That's
definitely.
nice. That's nice.
All right.
All right.
Assalamualaikum
Okay.
everyone.
Alright, Waalaikumsalam. Thank you everyone. Bye semua.